Hello everyone. In today's cycle, I would like to just talk briefly about the different ways to attack IPSec VPN, and in today's topic, I'm just going to go briefly about one specific attack that's most of the time is overlooked, and it is the kind of the most usable attack out there. So first of all, just a quick intro into what's VPN. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, and it's anytime you create a network that's pretty much restricted to a certain amount of people, and you can call that VPN. But most of the time, people have known VPN to be secure, encrypted, and highly available. But usually that has to be a specific type of VPN. So usually VPNs have two main types. There's site-to-site VPN and the remote access VPN. The site-to-site VPN, that's the IPSec VPN, which pretty much for corporations to be able to connect their headquarters to their branch offices and different branch offices to each other. And that's most of the time, that's the one people might try to attack. And there's remote access VPN, which is SSL VPN, and that's when you go home, when you try to connect to work to do some to continue working from home. So pretty much it extends the office to different locations. This one, a lot of people use it. That's the VPN people know. I'm VPN from my laptop to my corporate to be able to upload files, to access the intranet, and so on. So VPNs are most of the time overlooked during any security assessment, and that's mainly because people think of VPN as the god of security, and this is the network that cannot be hacked. It's all the time, it's encrypted, and if I have a VPN, no one can see my traffic, no one can do anything with it. And that's pretty much why I'm trying to talk about it today. So I'm targeting mainly the IPSec VPN, and that's used for the site-to-site tunnels to connect corporate offices. So IPSec is kind of a suite of protocols that uses cryptographic and authentication algorithms and functions to provide certain security services. So it's capable of providing confidentiality, integrity, and authenticity for IP traffic. So you create this point-to-point tunnel between point A and point B, and then the traffic in between them is supposed to be really highly confidential. The integrity of the data should be maintained, authentication between the two peers happening, so it's fantastic. You create this tunnel. It's really that's what everyone think about it and use it for. So I'm using it today. I think a lot of people will be using it as well. So there is two major protocols used within the IPsec suite. There's the IP authentication header, and there's the encapsulation security payload. So the encapsulation header, an authentication header, that's most of the time, sometimes it's used, sometimes people can replace it with something else, but it's usually used to provide authentication and run remediation methodologies for IPsec tunnels. So sometimes it's also used just to provide message digest to make sure that whatever the information came on this end and the same on that end, so kind of checksum and error checking and so on. And there's ESP, and this is most of the time, I say 90% of the time, is used in IPsec tunnel to provide encryption services. So IPsec VPN, putting all that together, is pretty much establishing a tunnel between 2 points. They need to agree on the encryption protocol, need to be agreed between the two ends, hashing protocol, using a pre-shared password or certificate, as well as peering IP addresses. So both sides need to agree on these 4 categories to be able to establish the VPN tunnel. There's additional information that's related to the transport, like encryption domains and interesting traffic and how the traffic will be routed and so on. But on this presentation, we're just concentrating on the security aspect of it. So it uses CSE most of the time as an encryption mechanism, using authentication header for message authenticity in many different ways, as a password, as a hash, message digest, or any other form. So it can use pre-shared keys or signed certificate. These are just examples. So it can use multiple different forms. It can use tokens. It can use any other thing for authentication. But the most common one is pre-shared key, because not all vendors will be supporting the other functions, but pre-shared key is kind of comes with the IPSec RFS or RFC as well. So encryption can be done for the packet header or for the entire packet. So that depends on how you configure your VPN. And this also need to be agreed upon between the two sides. If you want it to be a transport mode, that means only the packet header will get encrypted, or you want it to be a tunnel mode. At that point, you will eat more processor cycles and so on, but you will be able to encrypt the overall packet, including header as well as payload. So it uses IKE, Internet Key Exchange, and this is very much to create a tunnel where you can negotiate the IPsec parameters inside that tunnel. So it's kind of another protective layer. IKE has two modes. IKE has main mode and aggressive mode. Main mode is the one that's typical, 6 packets in total to complete the authentication process. It creates a tunnel. It protects that tunnel with Diffie-Hellman encryption and key, and then inside that tunnel, the IPsec parameters negotiation happens. The other way is IKE aggressive or fast mode, and on this one, it's only 3 packets are used to complete the authentication, and this is usually used most of the time when people try to make quick VPN connection. That's how they call it, quick and fast. Basically, it skips that first tunnel, so the traffic will not be encrypted at the beginning, and it will just go right ahead to negotiate the IPsec parameters. The problem and the attack that I'm trying to share with you today is when there is an IPsec tunnel established between 2 endpoints, and these 2 endpoints are using IPsec aggressive mode, and they're using pre-shared key. And this is specific setup if while remote users will try to access the network and they're using pre-shared keys, it's usually possible to try to sniff the traffic that going between these 2 points and actually obtain the hash used to authenticate the 2 VPNs together. And that hash usually is MD5 or SHA-1, so it's pretty simple most of the time. Nowadays, it's a little bit advanced in the newer implementation of IPsec, but I mean, most of the time people will still use these. I still see these used today. So the hash can be attacked online using hashcats, using any other method. So to do the attack, mainly you have to start by reconnaissance, and then you need to do enumeration, and then at that point you have some information you can use to actually undergo the attack. Some tools I've used it here is probably Nmap. You can do port scanning with that. IKE Scan, Windows tool that I found, can fingerprint the VPN gateway. It tells you that it's a Cisco, it's screen secure, it's Juniper SRX, and so on. Give you good information about that. There's IKE Probe, and that one will tell you if there's any vulnerabilities to specific IPsec running, because IKE has different versions. IKE has IKE version 1, version 2, each one has its own vulnerabilities. And there's a little Windows tool here, very useful for that. And then you can initiate a passive attack, also using the IKE Probe. IKE Probe sometimes will be able to sit in between, kind of a man-in-the-middle attack between the 2 gateways, and could be able to sniff the traffic. Basically trying to force the traffic to be on the aggressive mode. And then you can use any sniffer to be able to sniff the traffic and try to get the PSK hash, and then go and try to crack. Possible preventive measures is, first of all, you need to make sure that your device is not coming redeployed in aggressive mode. Try to use idling mode most of the time. I really don't think there is a lot of time saving or processor saving, as a lot of people assume. Try not to use pre-shared keys like the software I work on right now. That's a policy. You have only a few certificates to establish a VPN tunnel. And here's some list of the resources that I have this information. Thank you.